Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user doing the most. It was made in the cheating story subreddit and is titled, "My ex who cheated on me with her trainer just reached out after a year of silence. Now her life is falling apart and she wants me back. Hey everyone, I, 28M, just had a weird situation pop up and I honestly don't know how to process it. Maybe getting it off my chest will help. Names are fake, obviously. A little over a year ago, I was in a serious 3-year relationship with Megan, 27F. Everything seemed great between us, at least from my perspective. We talked about moving in together and even had casual talks about marriage someday. Around that time, I started getting into fitness and introduced Megan to my personal trainer, Jake 30M. Jake was a super charismatic guy and he and Megan hit it off, but I didn't think much of it, just assumed they had a good trainer-client relationship. After a few months of them working together, Megan started acting more distant. She'd be busy after her workouts, not come home until late, and her phone would suddenly always be on Do Not Disturb. I'd ask her about it, but she'd blow me off, saying I was being paranoid. Well, turns out I wasn't paranoid. One night, Megan left her phone on the counter while she was showering and it lit up with texts from Jake. Let's just say they weren't talking about meal plans or workout routines. I confronted her immediately and she broke down and admitted she'd been cheating with him for months. She told me she fell in love with Jake and that it wasn't about me, it was just something she couldn't help. She packed her things and moved in with him within a week. That was the worst time of my life. It felt like my entire world had been ripped apart. I blocked her on everything and focused on picking up the pieces of my life. Therapy, gym, hanging with friends, I slowly started to move on, even though it left a deep scar. Then out of the blue a few days ago, she reached out to me on a new number. At first, I wasn't going to reply, but curiosity got the better of me. She started off saying she missed me, that she's sorry for everything, and that she's made a huge mistake. Apparently, things with Jake went downhill fast. She found out he was cheating on her, they've broken up, and now she's stuck, lonely, and miserable. She even admitted she's been thinking about me for months, but was too ashamed to reach out sooner. She said she realizes what she had with me was real and that she wants to make things right. She claimed she was willing to do anything to prove she'd changed and asked if we could meet up to talk. Here's the thing, part of me still has some feelings for her, but another part of me is screaming to block her again and never look back. I don't know if I can ever trust her after what she did, but hearing her sound so broken on the phone stirred something up in me. Maybe it's pity, maybe it's nostalgia, or maybe I'm just an idiot. So here I am trying to figure out if I should hear her out or tell her to stay in the past where she belongs. What would you guys do? Edit, I'll post an update after we talk. Right now, I haven't responded. I wanted a general consensus first. User Affectionate Neat said, what could she possibly say that would make you stupid enough to trust her? If you take her back when she cheats again, it's on you. User Ada Ian said, my life is in shambles and I made a mistake. Whatever will I do? I can just get back together with that guy who has no self-respect until I find a new one. Is that the guy you want to be? If so, then more power to you, but if not, then block her again and keep moving forward. User Heavy Arms said, you'll have to live in that relationship knowing you were undeniably a second choice. She's not wanting to get back together out of love because love would have kept her from cheating. Her plans fell through and she's hoping you'll be a willing fallback. Both of you are different people from the start of your relationship, and it has been a year of silence since a messy end. You don't have to scorch the earth, but I don't see the point in a nostalgia-based relationship after the trust has been shattered. She's shown you she'll leave you if she can land someone she decides is better. It's up to you if you want to live like that. User Cal Beach Boy said, don't you realize that you're just her plan B, her second string? If things worked out between her and her gym jock, she wouldn't have known or cared if you were alive or dead. Since she thinks she has a chance of you taking her back, she will start love bombing you until you are back under her spell. That will last long enough until another plan A shows up or her AP takes her back. Your mission, Jim, should you decide to accept it, is to string her along for a while and keep her just close enough to see you got over her betrayal and are happy without her. If you introduce her to your new GF, even better. Tell her that you just fell in love and it wasn't about her, it was just something you couldn't help. The very next day, OP provided an update. Hey everyone, I wasn't planning on doing an update, but after meeting up with my ex, I feel like I need to get this off my chest. If you didn't read my first post, the quick version is my ex, Megan, cheated on me a year ago with her trainer Jake and left me for him. Now, she's back saying things went south with him and she wants to get back together. So we met up yesterday for coffee. I went in not really knowing what to expect. Part of me wanted closure, part of me was still curious about what she had to say. We talked for a good couple of hours and it was a lot to process. Megan started by apologizing. She admitted that leaving me for Jake was the biggest mistake of her life, and she's been paying for it ever since. Without getting into too many details, things between them weren't as perfect as she thought they'd be, and the whole relationship basically crashed and burned. She's been struggling ever since, mentally, emotionally, financially. It's been a rough year for her, but here's the part that I wasn't really prepared for. She also brought up a lot of things about our relationship that I never considered. She said that while cheating on me was 100% wrong, she felt like I wasn't the best boyfriend either. According to her, I didn't always make her feel appreciated, and she resented me for that. She mentioned that I was emotionally distant at times, more focused on my work or hobbies, and she felt like she wasn't a priority. She didn't use it as an excuse, but she said that built-up resentment contributed to her being tempted by someone who made her feel wanted. Hearing that hit hard. I didn't see myself that way, but looking back, I can see where I might have dropped the ball. I thought I was being a good partner, but maybe I was blind to some of her needs. She said she spent a lot of time reflecting and realizes she should have talked to me about her feelings instead of stepping out. After we finished talking, she asked if we could try again. She claims she's learned from her mistakes and wants to rebuild what we had. She told me she's willing to take things slow and prove she's different now, but I'm torn. On one hand, I've done a lot of healing in the past year, and I don't know if I can or should go back. On the other hand, I can't lie. Hearing her admit her mistakes and explain her side of things made me feel something. Maybe it's closure, maybe it's sympathy, maybe it's old feelings creeping back. I honestly don't know. Now I'm just confused. Part of me wants to move on and never look back, but another part of me is questioning whether we both made mistakes that could be fixed now that we've grown. I can't tell if she's just trying to ease her guilt or if there's a real chance at something better. What would you guys do? Is there any point in trying to rebuild, or is it better to leave the past where it belongs? User Book Rants said, "My guy, she was manipulating you. If you weren't a great boyfriend, why is she coming back to you now? Tell her, sorry, I was such a shit boyfriend to you. I didn't know. But the good news is you're now free to find someone better. Good luck." Like, if you were so bad, she started resenting you, why even want you back? Under this comment, another user said the following: "She's negging him, blatantly as well. That chick. She broke your trust and then tried to blame you for it, and now she wants your stability. But there's a big mess she got herself in, not to mention the risk of STDs with that trainer. This is not what you deserve. You are lovable and you are worthy. Do not settle. Never run after men, women, or buses. There will be another one along in 10 minutes, so to speak. Massive hugs. Don't derail your life for someone like this." UserCheck12 said, "I have a one-chance policy. Never get back together with exes, even if we end on good terms. You did not end on anything but extremely bad terms. A grown woman talking about how she should have talked to you too late. Also, I think some people can cheat and some can't. I won't, no matter the situation, but someone like her is 3 times as likely to cheat again, especially on the person they cheated on. If you don't believe me, there are plenty of stories on here. My wife cheated on me once when we were dating. I thought we worked through it. Now she's having an affair and we have kids. What do I do? You don't want to be this guy." This next story was made in the Off My Chest subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, "My boyfriend beat the ever-living snot out of my brother. I'm honestly just glad someone finally did." This is a long one. Just a heads up if you don't want to waste time reading about my idiot brother, which I fully understand. I am sick of being related to him. So growing up, I, 19F, had a hard time keeping romantic partners. My brother, 22M, is very overprotective, and it usually ended with him scaring off whoever dared try and date me. At first, everyone, including our parents, thought it was kind of cute and cliche, the big brother protecting his little sister like a proper movie trope, and I didn't really mind since none of the relationships I had were serious, plus I didn't realize just how far he would go to keep guys from me. But as I got older and started looking for something a bit more serious and long-term, my brother quickly ramped up his behavior. At the start, it was just the basic stay away from my sister threats. Nobody actually thought he would hurt someone. It was just a boys will be boys kind of deal. Well, as it turns out, boys grow into men, but that doesn't mean they have to actually grow up. So as we got older, my brother's behavior quickly escalated, from joking threats to actual threats to trying to disrupt my dates to just straight up sabotaging and damaging my personal property to stop me from seeing anyone. Seriously, who slashes their sister's bicycle tires to stop them from going to the beach with their friends? That wasn't even a date, but there were going to be cute boys at the beach, and that just would not fly with my brother. So yeah, our parents, bless them, they tried their best to curb his brotherly instinct as it were, but the things he did were away from home and hard to prove. If the boy I was dating suddenly blocked and ghosted me, I knew 100% my brother had gotten to them somehow. I didn't just take this lying down, of course. I repeatedly told my brother off, and I got really good at avoiding him, but he refused to stop his behavior. Reading the title of this post, you already know this ended up biting him in the ass. It finally mostly stopped when my brother moved away for college. He couldn't spend every free minute from school stalking me or going through my phone or threatening my male friends. For the first time in years, it felt like I could breathe. You never realize how f***ed up a situation is until it suddenly stops or changes. Sorry this is getting so long and rambling. I've just had this slowly bottling up since I was like 14 years old, and this is cheaper than therapy. Also, this third glass of wine I'm slowly emptying whilst typing is starting to work against me. Anyway, finally getting to the point of this post, after I turned 18, I thought, finally I am a grown adult woman and I can do whatever I want. My brother disagreed. Not long after my brother moved away, I met this really great guy, 20, who I've been dating for a bit over 2 years now. We are serious. I've met his parents, they're great, he has met mine, they were mostly worried about what my brother would think, but I had managed to keep BF a secret from him for over 2 years now, and I was honestly sick of it. Deciding that my brother had controlled enough of my life, I brought BF with me to the yearly family cookout to make us official, public, and finally confront my brother and make him realize he can't make choices for me anymore. Things were going great. BF finally got to meet my grandparents, cousins, uncles, and aunts. The whole freaking gang was there, having a great time. My brother arrived late, having traveled halfway across the country from his college. Me and BF were sitting at the table, laughing about something or other when my brother approached us. The following is paraphrased slightly, but the gist of it went like this. Bro, who the f*** are you? Me. Well, good day to you too, brother. Have you? Bro, I asked who the f*** this guy is. And then my boyfriend, my amazing, wonderful, complete dumbass of a boyfriend, got up, extended his hand to my brother, and tried to say, "Hi, I am X, OP's boyfriend. Nice to finally meet you." Yeah, he only got so far as the boyfriend part before my brother took a swing at him. Now, this is the part where I reveal the hilarious plot twist and why I felt okay with bringing BF to the gathering. BF's dad is a former cop, and his mother teaches self-defense classes to DV victims. Yes, I currently have the biggest shit-eating grin on my face typing that. What about it? Full honesty, it's like half the reason I started dating him. I mean, he's great in many ways, and I love him lots, but I specifically looked for a partner that wouldn't take shit from my brother and wasn't intimidated by him. Well, I definitely made the right choice. BF just barely avoided a full-face sucker punch. My brother's fist glanced his cheekbone, and BF got away with a black eye instead of a fractured orbital. By the time we managed to pull BF off him, my brother had both eyes swollen shut. He was spitting blood and teeth, clutching his chest as BF managed to crack 5 of his ribs in what I can only describe as the fastest, most cathartic, and well-deserved ass beating ever. From there, things moved quickly. I barely remember the order of what happened next. My brother got taken to the ER to have his face stitched back together. No great loss there. He wasn't exactly a looker before BF rearranged his face. The police came and took everyone's statements. BF somehow avoided arrest. I think because all 30 or so witnesses agreed my brother was the instigator and 100% at fault, even if he had to drink through a straw for several weeks after. Everyone had gotten sick and tired of brother's antics years ago, so he got no support from family. After it was all over, me and BF headed home. I was half laughing and half crying from exhaustion the whole way in the passenger seat. After we got home, BF took a shower to wash the dirt off, and when he stepped out of the bathroom, I don't know what came over me, but I pushed him on the bed and his brains out. Maybe it was the literal years of catharsis hitting me all at once, seeing my tormentor finally get up, or maybe it was just some primal cave woman part of my brain that had seen something it liked, but BF was like the most attractive person ever at that moment and every moment since. I know I should feel at least a little bit responsible for what happened. If I hadn't brought BF to the gathering, none of this would have happened, but I was so sick of my brother's shit and I wasn't going to take it anymore. We finally got the word back from the police a few days ago. No charges will be brought against BF. Witness testimony from 30 people is apparently enough to justify self-defense, even if my brother had zero chance of taking down BF in hand-to-hand. Speaking of hands, I fully intend to put a ring on BF once I've saved up a bit of money, and he only has himself to blame really. You can't just rock my world like that and not expect me to hear the ringing of wedding bells. So yeah, that's way too many words used to tell a story that can very quickly be summarized with TLDR, brother tried to stop me from around, but he was the one who found out. Now, if you excuse me, the wine is calling. A deleted user said, just want to say that your brother needs serious therapy. His obsession with you is beyond up and gives serious abusive incest vibes under the guise of protection. Especially knowing how violent he is, this could lead to physical danger to you in the future. Your parents are toxic for enabling this behavior for so long. I would try to seek an order of protection for both you and your BF. This is extremely abnormal behavior, and I'm just worried about you. Also, enjoy your wine and absolutely relish in this moment of pure karma. User Useless People said, my brother is so similar to yours, same age gap and everything. I don't think mine would go as far as yours, but holy the amount of people he has chased off or ruined for me is insane. My now partner is a lot more manly than he is, and the only reason my brother hasn't done anything is because he's intimidated by my boyfriend. I'm so glad I'm not the only one with a brother that is way too protective to the point it crosses a line. User JCashBuy said, your brother has issues. Big issues that even an ass whooping will not cure. He tried to assault a total stranger simply because he was dating his of-age sister. He did not know him at all but felt comfortable enough to hit him. I hope this is the end of his behavior, but I suspect it is not. I wonder what other shit he is into besides this that you do not know of. This last post was made in the Nuclear Revenge subreddit by a user named Got Rid Of. The post is titled Nuclear Ghosting, Revenge on Cheating Fiancé. The players are myself, fiancé, and fiancé's mom. It has obviously been several years since the incident, and I literally have never told anyone in my new life about this. Tonight I have some good wine to drink and figure I'll let my fingers do the talking. I thought I had met the perfect woman. We met in the last year of college. We met at a party and hit it off instantly. She was a beautiful blonde with sun-kissed skin, and she could have been a model. She was kind, compassionate, sympathetic, a good listener, and had an active life with many friends. She liked my friends, and it was awesome over the 3 years we knew each other and how our friend groups merged. Several of our friends began dating each other. It was some of the best times of my life. I was on for a post-grad in finance, and she had a degree in contractual law. This is just to say we ended up being successful in our own rights. But I'm no slouch in the looks department either. 5'11", 190 pounds, and liked the gym. I wasn't a super athlete, but let's just say I was built. But I was and am very shy and didn't have a lot of prior relationships before meeting her. The first evening we met, we were smitten. First night we talked all night. Then it went to texting and calls daily, then dates weekly. Then after a year she moved in. I loved her family and her family loved me. Mostly her mother, as her father was as standoffish as he was to everyone. It was a whirlwind romance. After 2.5 blissful years of overseas vacations, hiking trips, and luxury vacations, I proposed to her. She said yes. I was over the moon. She was doing all the planning for the wedding. We were talking about our futures together, buying a house, children and family trips that we were going to take together, and all such things like that. Then it happened. One evening after we both get home to our apartment, she is a little distant. I think I noticed it right away as we were always very affectionate towards each other. This would only happen about once a week for the first month. After proposal, then it was more frequent. I would have been none the wiser except that I used to listen to a lot of Reddit on YouTube. So I waited and observed. These bouts of ignoring me would only last a couple of hours, then she would be right back to normal. But after 6 months, she was like this almost every night. Was still great. Relationship with her parents still great. But over Thanksgiving at her parents' home in Louisville, Kentucky, she was standoffish towards me in front of her mother. Now her mother was a very observant woman. She pulled her daughter aside to talk to her and I could hear them arguing. After some heated but muffled words, they returned to the rest of the family and carried on like nothing was going on. I figured I could ask her about it later and I did. She was not willing to talk about it and asked me to wait till we were home to discuss it. I agreed as I loved her deeply and thought we could work through anything. Her mother was an older version of her, same stunning looks. This is important later. Back home, I asked her about it, but she was unwilling to discuss it. When pressed on it for a week, she finally confessed that a guy at her work was trying to get to know her better. She wanted to be forthcoming, so she showed me her phone, and as I looked through it, I noticed that all the texts that would have happened during the times she was withdrawing from me were removed. There was nothing untoward in the texts, but I did go into her phone settings and turned on her locator on her phone as we shared the same phone plan. And I honestly thought it would make me see that she was not doing anything wrong. Was I wrong? That second weekend after Thanksgiving, she had a company Christmas party. I had planned on going, but came down with food poisoning and had to back out. She had a girlfriend pick her up from our apartment as they planned on drinking a lot and had a DD for the evening. We had planned on going out all night, so I told her to have a blast and I would see her in the morning. So as I'm puking my guts out and barely able to get off the toilet for more than 30 minutes, I grabbed my phone and watched her location. First, it was a restaurant, then the venue of the company party, then a bar. None of this alarmed me until I saw her phone stop in a downtown hotel. At this point, I was miserable in more ways than 3, projectile vomiting out my butt, mouth, and now soul. I finally fell asleep due to sheer exhaustion at 2 a.m. At 7 a.m., I awoke and saw she was still at the hotel. At noon, she finally comes home, and I am on the mend. She loves me up, and I asked her about the previous night without mentioning anything about knowing her locations. She talks about the restaurant, party, the bar, but then says she went to her girlfriend's house to crash for the evening. First lie. For the next 3 months, she has to start working later and later, 3 to 4 days a week. As I start asking her about it, she becomes more and more defensive. I talked to her mom one evening when fiancé didn't come home until late. I asked her mom about the Thanksgiving conversation, and she admitted to me that she thought her daughter might be stepping out of our relationship because of how she read her body language. She also said that her daughter was being more and more distant with her in their weekly texting conversations. With all this speculation that was going on in my mind, I kept it to myself. 2 weeks later at work, I ended up getting a new project at my company that was going to require me to fly to the Midwest Monday through Friday for the next 5 weeks, starting in 2 weeks. It came with an increase in salary, and as I broke the news to my fiancé, she was delighted for me. I didn't think though that she was excited for the same reasons I was. So I went online and ordered 4 motion-activated spy cameras for my apartment. I put one in the living room/entry area, one in the kitchen, one in our bedroom, and one looking down our hallway. They were very small and connected to the internet via a hidden network, so they couldn't be spotted on the Wi-Fi network. I secured the cams with a password and waited. On my first week out, she had girlfriends over the first 2 nights and never worked late once. The third night, a guy came over. I was enraged. I'm sitting there in my hotel room screaming at the monitor and calling her every name in the book. Then they went all the way. First on the couch, then in our bed. She bent in ways for him that I didn't know were possible. What was the worst was as I am watching them get it on, I call her to see how her day went. She hears her phone ringing and holds her hand up for him to stop giving her and answers the call. I asked why she was breathing heavily, and she said she was at the gym working out. As soon as the call is over, she goes right back to doing the dirty. When I got home Friday evening, I ignored her and went right to bed, and early Saturday got up and went cycling. I was so upset that I didn't even realize that I biked over 50 miles from our apartment. The furthest I had biked before was 30 miles, but that day I went 105 miles. Getting back absolutely exhausted, I showered. Then she and I went out that evening and had fun with our friends and had a lot to drink. Is it breakup when the one you're going to break up with is oblivious? I was bursting inside. Heartbreak, anger, rage, and feelings of betrayal all swirled around in my heart and mind. She, who used to be so attentive, was oblivious to all this. It hurt so much because I loved her so much. I finally confided in one of our mutual friends, and he told me that they all knew about it for months. I was finally told they all felt sorry for me, but no one again said a damn thing to me, which is why they stopped inviting us out with them. I hadn't noticed it before, but I could look back and see that about 3 months prior, they gradually invited us and me less and less. So I figured I would try and win her back. The next weekend, I planned the entire weekend as a complete weekend of spoiling her in every way. Wined and dined, pampering, massages, rubs, and talking to her about future plans and about how much I loved her. I knew I was starting to break through when after her fourth glass of wine, she started to cry, and I could tell the guilt was coming up to the surface. I asked her what was wrong, but she would choke up every time she tried to speak. I then told her that if she did something in her past or was having some kind of conflict in her mind that she needed to speak to me about, that I was more than willing to talk with her about it, and if forgiveness was needed, then I was more than willing to forgive and move on. The only words that came out of her mouth in her tears were how much she loved me. It actually hurt to hear that from her, as I now had 4 separate videos of her and the other guy in our apartment getting it on. Over the next 8 weeks of traveling to the Midwest, I recorded over 41 hours of her having sex with what I found out was her co-worker. She never worked late once while I was gone. I tried every weekend to be extra attentive, and each week she got more and more distant. After watching this for 8 weeks, I was done, so I devised a 12-step getaway plan. Gather evidence, get her out of the way in order to execute my plan. I scheduled a 2-week exclusive getaway trip for us at an all-inclusive resort in Barbados. She was ecstatic. Then a week before the trip, I claimed I had to back out and told her to take a friend. I knew it was over when she showed no disappointment that I couldn't go. She scheduled coworker to go with her, terminate our apartment lease. It would expire 3 days into her trip, and I was the sole signature on the lease. Find a job in another town. The company I had been assisting in the Midwest had offered me a job with a slight increase in salary. Find a new place to live. I got an apartment in the above said location. When she is gone, perform the following. Take her to the airport, go back home, and pack all her things on the same day. Get a new phone number, phone, and email. Cancel all social media. Monday, separate us completely in regard to finances. Withdrew all money from our joint accounts and then closed them. I put all her money in an envelope and packed it with her things. Have the movers pack all my things up and ship it west. Take all her things to her mother's house 600 miles away. All my fiance's belongings fit into the back and bed of my F-250 crew cab Tuesday through Saturday. Give her mother the evidence. Start my new life. I didn't want to do anything that was illegal, so I made sure that nothing of hers was missing. It was so hard to pack all her stuff nice and neatly away. I never cried so hard in my life. I have read so many times on Reddit about partners saying they will never do it again when caught, but they don't stop. My hope was that she would genuinely confess so we could forgive and move on. She never did. Twice she came really close, but her secret was too hard for her to reveal. Tuesday morning, I left our apartment north of DC for the last time. It took 10 hours to get to her mom's house. What happened when I got there, I was not prepared for. I arrived at her mom's house around 8 in the evening. I figured she would be surprised to see me since I was coming down unannounced. Since they lived in a gated community, I had to buzz her house from the front gate, so she was waiting for me outside when I drove up. I could tell that she had been crying when I walked up to see her. I asked her what was wrong, and she hugged me, bawling that she thought her husband was cheating on her with a much younger, skinnier, and prettier woman. Dumbfounded, I just held her for what was probably 10 minutes. She soaked my right shoulder with her tears and snot. When she finally composed herself, I asked if we could go in and talk. We went in and I asked where her husband was, and she indicated that he said he was going fishing with his buddies at a remote cabin an hour away. Then she said he hates fishing. She gave me all the indications that she had picked up on, and apparently it had been going on for about a year. So, doing a little bit of research, we found a credit card hold charge for a 5-star hotel that was only 20 minutes away. One call later confirmed her husband was in fact there for a 4-night stay, cheating with his mistress. 2 peas in a pod, I said. What? She responded. 2 peas in a pod, I said again. Your husband is cheating on you and your daughter is cheating on me. That's why I came here to drop her stuff off and move. I showed her the evidence in a binder of screen captures I had made. After looking at the first 3 or 4 pages, she looked at me dumbfounded. We both hugged and cried for a good 30 minutes. At that point, she said, "Stop crying," and looked at me and said, "Well, tonight there is nothing we can do about it except for you and I to knock out these 3 bottles of Moscato and f*** in every room of the house." She grabbed 2 wine glasses and a bottle of Moscato wine and walked out to their private pool deck saying, "Are you coming out here or are you going to get revenge?" Now, I won't go into much detail because I don't want to get blue balls, but that night and for the next 3 days, we non-stop. I put myself in every hole her beautiful body could offer. I must have in or on her 25 plus times in that period. After those days were over, we passionately said goodbye and I drove to my new destination. She kept me informed as to everything that happened when now ex-fiancé got back. The day fiancé got back was epic. I canceled my phone the morning of the day she got back, so when the plane landed and she called for a ride, it indicated the phone was disconnected. She apparently had her lover take her home. He dropped her off and left. When she came to the door, a strange couple answered the door and she freaked out. I can't tell you how many times she tried to call me because again, the number was no longer valid. She went to her girlfriend's to stay for a time as co-worker was already married. When she called her mom in a panic, her mom told her that I had come down and dropped off all her things and mentioned that all her monies were down there as well. Her mom didn't tell her that she had me more in 3 days than fiancé and I had in the last 6 months. But she did tell her that she knew that she was cheating on me and I said I had found a new job, place to stay, and new career far away from her and all the friends we had, and that her mother was separating from her father due to infidelity. Apparently, she cried for days and took a week off of work. But alas, she found comfort in the arms of her married lover. Her mom never let her know where I was at. I had completely cut off that part of my life. The only link I had to that old life was fiancé's mom, and she has kept our secret to this day. Fiancé was ghosted the most. TLDR, fiancé cheated, ghosted her life to start my own, got with her mom.